Good afternoon and welcome back to the workbench. I have here, returning to the workbench, a speaker system, the Logitech Z213 I believe it is, in a previous video from a few months ago I think, or at some point in the past anyway. Yeah, this was someone else's system that complained that one of the channels would cut out, and if you've seen the previous video, I tracked the fault down to this control module pod thing, and the headphone jack on that turned out the contacts inside had some kind of resistance issue. The contacts didn't seem to be working very well, and these jacks have like a pair of contacts which break contact when you plug a jack in, and when there's nothing plugged in the signal gets passed through to the rest of the amplifier, and it was that sort of switched contact part that seemed to be giving problems, and I sprayed contact cleaner and I wiggled it around and I resoldered everything and it seemed okay, but the previous owner told me that the problem just came back eventually, and the thing was given to me basically to keep. They said they'd bought their own other system and didn't really need this one anymore, so I set it up with my television, plugged to my HTPC and was using that. It actually sounds better than my TV speakers, so I was kind of happy with using it. I wanted to see if the fault would come back. It seemed fine. It worked okay for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks I think, and then yeah, one of the channels, the same channel, started cutting out again, and if I tapped on this jack, or if I plugged something in and out of it, it would usually start working, and then it sort of settled down. It was working fine, so I just ended up using it for a couple of months. Seemed to have no issue, but recently it seems like this jack on the back of the amplifier has gone funny. This one, you remember in the previous video, is quite loose and wobbly, and the left channel started cutting out. I can't remember which channel was the faulty one previously, but it seems to be a separate fault now. The jack on this seems to be going funny. I can kind of get it to work sometimes, that the speakers crackle. But yeah, so basically what I've done is I've gone to JCar and I've bought 2 new jacks, and I'm just going to replace both of them, because I think both of them are just dodgy. The resistance between the switched contacts was higher than 1 ohm I think when I tested it, or it would start high and then it would drop down, and it was weird. It wasn't acting like a decent contact. It was acting strangely, so it looks like the contact cleaner didn't really fix it. Possibly the plating in the plug is just junk, or maybe there's not enough tension on it. I mean, obviously this one's quite loose, so I think possibly lack of tension is half the problem. The only issue with these is they have a let me see if I can get a close up there. You can see they've got this little nut on the end there that you can use this as a panel mount sort of thing. So that screws off, and you get a separate little nut part. You can probably see the threads on there. So that is the difference with these. I believe the pinout is exactly the same. The layout of the pins should be the same. But yeah, the originals don't have that there. I think they're smooth on the outside. So it may not look as good when I replace them, but I guess that doesn't really matter. There's not enough space to put the nut on this, so yeah, it might not have a perfectly smooth outside, but these were the easiest way I could get these jacks, these sockets. So yeah, I just thought I'd go with that, and too bad if it doesn't look perfect. I suppose I can demonstrate the fault possibly. I'll just see if I can plug this in and see if I can make it work. I mean, it might be a bit hard to try and actually get it to make sense, but I'll give it a try. If I plug that in there and turn this on, I mean, we've got 2 speakers. I think that's here. Right channel, that one was working okay, the left wasn't. What I'll try and do is play some music here, some royalty-free thing, so we don't get a copyright problem. And of course it's working perfectly fine right now, but that's not surprising. Anyway, that one probably sounds fine. And that one sounds fine too. Of course it does. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Usually with these kind of things is, yeah, you jostle them around, move them to the workbench, and then suddenly they work perfectly fine. Intermittent problem. Yeah, of course it would. But that's okay. I'm just going to replace these jacks anyway, because I'm fairly certain that they're not very good, and they should be deserved to be replaced. Yeah, they just don't seem very good at all. I'll actually see how this... Yeah, see, that one is much more tight. There's no wiggle room. So yeah, I think these ones are just cheap junk. Yeah, so I'll just do that. Getting into this little control pod is fairly easy if you know how. It's got these 4 foam feet on the bottom, and you can just pull those off, peel them up like this. They don't have much glue holding them on. You can take them out of the way and get a screwdriver in there, and there's just 4 Phillips screws, I believe, from memory. I think all of them had a screw underneath. Whoops. Yeah, that's quite simple. Just do that and get the thing apart. Alright, so once you get the screws out, the bottom just falls off and the board comes out on the end of this cable out of the middle. And there's the offending jack here, and I'm going to test it again with my multimeter just to see what kind of contact resistance we have, if it's as bad as it was before. We've got these 2 contacts here at the top. Sorry, these 2 contacts at the top, these 2 here. That's for one side of the channel, and that's the other side, and that one there at the end is the ground, which goes straight to the outer ring. Yeah, and both of these contacts seem a bit funny. I'll test them again and see what we get. So, for reference, of course, the probes themselves show up as 0.3 ohms, 0.2, so we should get a reading about that. Maybe slightly higher, but it shouldn't be significantly higher. So if I go on to here, we get... what? Well, that might be from flux, but... several megohm, then it drops to 20 ohms. Flux residue maybe, but still, I mean, that's not normal. This one here, same thing. I don't know. Maybe the contact cleaner made it worse. I'm not sure. One channel was working fine. In fact, they were both working fine just now, but yeah, as you could possibly hear when I tested it, but yeah, there's something weird going on. Whereas if you take a brand new jack and you test the 2 contacts at the same time, like this, what do we get? 0.2. Exactly what you'd expect, and the same goes for this pair here. It comes up as like 0.3, which is what it should have. This one, on the other hand, is being very strange. So, yeah, it could be that there's flux residue on it. If I push nice and hard, but still, I mean, that's not normal. There's something strange going on there for sure. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's replace it. Very weird. I wonder what the one in the back of the amplifier is doing. I don't know. Okay, if we take a close-up of the 2 side by side, we can see that they're basically identical, except the new one has the thread on the connector on the outside, the part there, and also the internal seems to be pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, and the pinout again is the same. Everything is fine there, but hopefully the new one actually has decent quality. Yeah, in fact, actually, you can look at the bottom there. The long contact bottom right. The spring seems like it's slightly compressed more than the top one, and it actually looks like there could be a gap between the 2 contacts above the spring, whereas with the upper one, the contacts are pushed very hard together. So I don't know. Maybe weak springs in the in this one. I'm not sure. Alright, so let's get the old one out. I think fortunately the good thing with this, and probably with the board inside the amplifier, is that it's single-sided. You don't have to worry about dealing with plated through holes or anything. I'll just put some fresh solder on here, and then get my de-soldering thing ready. Sorry, my hand's in the way, isn't it? Maybe if I work around the camera like this, that's a better idea. I may need to put some extra solder on this one's going to be the tricky one. It's the thickest, heaviest part with the most thermal mass. Yeah, might have to do that twice. I probably should have clamped this in something, but hey. Right, I think that'll get it. Except wonderful, the volume knob is actually the daughter PCB, or whatever you want to say, with this volume control on it, is actually got a cutout, and it sits just above the volume, the thing, the jack. So to get the jack out, I have to probably take out the volume control as well. What a wonderful design. Let's see, let me just check if these pins are free first. It's de-soldered. A couple of these are not perfectly de-soldered, so let me just try that again. Ah yes, now it's loose. You can see it's loose, but it is held in part by that volume thing, I think, unless I can just get that slightly to the side. No, I cannot. Okay. Okay, let's take out the volume control. There we go. And that does that. Wonderful. Alright. So yeah, that's just got these little side contacts that just solder onto other ones. And there we go, there's the offending socket has come out. Now let's try and test that out of circuit and see what kind of values I get for the contact resistance. So again, on the previous one, we got basically the same as the test leads, like 0.3, 0.4 ohms. On this one, yeah, we're getting something 150k. That's not good. And that one's 0.6, 0.4k. That one looks fine now. But this one, yeah, this one. Oh, maybe I just needed a bit more pressure. Still, again, kind of odd. I don't know. We'll get rid of it. Alright, let's solder in this new one here. Just put that in first. I am just going to do a quick check with this here to be sure it does make sense. Yeah, that makes sense. It lines up with the hole. It actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. But yeah, that all looks good. It's flush. It's not recessed. It's not going to stop the plug going in. It's not sticking out horribly. that should be fine. Great. So yeah, let's solder that in and get that going. I'll just solder one pin at first, and then I'll hold the thing with my finger, pushing down, reflow it, make sure the jack is nicely flush with the board, the socket I should say. It is. You obviously want to do that before you solder all the pins in, otherwise you won't be able to move it properly, and then if it's misaligned you'll have to desolder everything and redo it. It's much easier to do it that way. There we go. Put that there. Put that one. I'll clean up all this flux afterwards. Whoops, we got a bridge there. That's okay. Just wipe that off. Alrighty then. And the main bit there. Right. I think that looks alright. Yeah, these things are weird. Well, I suppose possibly when I heated this up, when I desoldered it, maybe some oxides or something came off inside, and that's why it seems better now. But I don't know. Let's test this one. Still comes up as 0.3 straight away, and this one comes up as 0.3, 0.2 straight away. So yeah, the new one does seem to be a lot better in general, which is good. Now I've got to put the volume control back on, and that just goes like that. So yeah, just a case of making sure that's straight. Obviously you see you can tilt it to and fro a bit, so again I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to solder in one of the connectors, one of the pads there. Just do one on the end, and then I'm going to check that and see, is it aligned properly? No, it's slightly tilted to the left, so I'll get my finger on it, reheat that solder and just move it just ever so slightly till it's straight up and down. You can see now it should be fine, and then I'll test fit it in the case again just to be 100% certain. Make sure that goes in alright. Does the volume move freely? Yeah, pretty much. Could do with being moved slightly that way. Yeah, just a touch back that way, I think. Let's see. How's that? Let's try that again. Much better. Doesn't rub on the side now. Excellent. So now I can. Well, actually, I think I'll just sit that in there while I resolder the other connections. Probably be the easier way to do it, in fact. Sorry, keep getting in the way of the camera, but there we are. Just trying to do this a bit quickly, so unfortunately maybe I'm not going to do it perfectly for the camera, but finally the camera's in focus. You can see the fresh solder, everything back to normal. Yeah, obviously flux residue everywhere. I'll have to clean off, but well, probably actually don't have to, but I probably will. Or maybe I won't, who knows. Anyway, I might just not bother just yet before I test it anyway. Of course, not that testing it will necessarily prove anything, because it worked fine just before when it hadn't been working. So yeah, I'll have to probably run it for another month or two and just make sure the problem's gone. Yeah, but there we go. That's the new thing all soldered in, and now I'll do the same thing with the jack on the back the amplifier for the speaker output jack, which also seems to be kind of rubbish. Okay, so now I'll do the other jack on the amplifier. I believe to take this out you just take out these 4 screws and then it just slides out and you can get access to it. At least that's what I remember from the previous attempt at looking at this. Not 100% certain. We'll find out. I'm not going to look at the previous video to see if that's what I did, because I honestly don't have the time to be bothered with it. So I'll just undo these screws and see what happens. No, I think it's fine. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that does come out slightly. Does it come out far enough? I think it does. Yeah, because the jack is right there. I don't need to take it out any further, I don't think. That should work. I'll just put this on the side. Oh, that's annoying. Maybe I do need to do some more disassembly. Unfortunately, the contact is underneath. The contact for the outer part, the ground, is underneath this plastic, so I need to take this plastic off. Now, how is that going to work? It's got screws here, which I can't access because I can't pull this out far enough to get access to them. Okay, I'll have to take that sub speaker out as well, I think, to disconnect the wires inside to be able to pull it out. Probably. Okay. Sorry you can't see this, but I'm just unscrewing this speaker here. Okay. So how does this work? Right, yes, that comes out here. You can see the power supply down there at the bottom. It's just a little switch mode one. Looks kind of like a like a little laptop power supply in a way. Probably is very similar. Alright, what's holding this in? Well, we've got this plug here. That's the power connector from the supply, the 19 volts or whatever it is. We got the connector for this, which is kind of in a tricky place. I think the main offending one is actually the mains cord that it's hung up on. Now that's all the way back in there. And this is kind of an annoying design. Oh no, hang on. No, I think if you took out those 2 screws, there's 2 screws here for the power supply. One there and one over there, and then it looks like the back of it actually goes into a slot in a piece of wood, so if you had a little short screwdriver I think you could probably undo that and then just slide that out. And then that's probably how you'd unplug the mains connector, or at least that's what you're supposed to do. But I don't think I have a screwdriver that short. That's annoying. Probably some pliers might work. Yeah, let's try that instead. If I can just get that in there. That thing. Squeeze the clip together and... Nope. Is it glued? It's probably glued. That's annoying. There we go. Now it's come off. Was that glued? No, it wasn't. There was no glue on that at all. Okay, well, we got that off there, that should help. Right, yes, that comes out there. If I put this back in here, that makes that come out there, and I should be able to unplug that. That one is glued pretty well actually. Or is that just a soldered connector? Oh, no, that's not even a plug at all, that's just a soldered connector on the board. Wonderful! That's nice when they do that, isn't it? Anyway, at least I've got access to these screws here now. What a stupid design. Fake plugs that are just soldered directly to the board. Marvellous. Yes, you can see this thing is built down to a price point, isn't it? Take this off here. Oh well, there you go. If anyone else is interested in doing this repair, you can see how much of a pain in the ass it is. Oh, and we've got a whole ton of hot glue there as well to contend with. Marvellous. Wonderful. Okay. Yes, I'm loving this, every second of it. So much for a quick fix. Now we got this knob here on this pot, but I don't see how it comes off. It's probably a press fit, there's no screw, but it's pretty tight. I might have to get something in there and try to lever it a bit. I'm putting some marks in the plastic, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's just really tight. It might be glued on as well. There we go. That got it. No, it's just a really tight fit. Okay, that's fun. Now we can undo this nut. At least that comes off normally. If only they'd just used decent jacks in the first place. Alright. Well, that's loose. That's great. Get those out of there. But yeah, the glue on these is still holding this whole board in, and this glue is pretty thick. Great. So how can I do anything about that? Try to just... Oh. That is really, really annoying. I'd say though it's definitely confirmed that the subwoofer is driven by this chip here with the heatsink on it. I think someone in the comments on the previous video suggested that possibly that was not the case, but the traces to that subwoofer connector go straight to this chip here, so that's definitely the subwoofer amplifier, and this one here is obviously the amplifier for the front speakers. You can see where the traces actually go from the jack straight around there anyway to that chip there. So yeah, definitely that might be some kind of preamp, I suppose, or maybe that's a preamp for... yeah, that's probably the preamp to take the low frequencies and split them off, so it's a filter really, I guess, to send the low frequencies to there, and the main signal just goes straight to the front, it looks like, possibly. But yeah, that's definitely the front speaker amp, and that's the sub amp, which makes sense that that will be using more power for the subwoofer, so it makes sense it'll have a heatsink and be more powerful. Right, anyway, I have to try and get this stupid thing off. I wonder, actually, if I could just... no. I was going to say I could just cut a hole in this piece of plastic here, but I think that the board extends so far down, well, it might be possible. It's actually kind of tempting that, I mean, it's not like that's necessary. Well, or is it? Would it affect the sound performance if I cut a small hole in the side of this pit? I don't think it would, because we've got this sealing foam around there, which should be anything that matters, and this is... I thought I saw a cracked solder joint. But it's actually not. Also, the fun part with this, of course, because they're not using the switches on this jack, the contacts are just shorted together, which kind of indicates the thing is even worse than I thought, because if it fails to give an output even when the switches are not even in use, then it must be just the contacts themselves are just terrible quality. Yeah, I'm really tempted to just cut a little slot out of this with a pair of side cutters, actually. Let's see if we can do that. Can I get these in there? Be careful, because I think there's some ceramic capacitors there, surface mount ones. Yeah, okay, if I can... Yeah, I think if I can... let me see. Oh, why is my camera glitching up so much? Yeah, I think I've got access to that that solder joint there, just by making a little gap. I should be able to desolder that now. Well, that's good, I didn't have to bother taking all that off. Well, oh well, there we go. I suppose you could get alcohol under that glue and do whatever, or some sort of solvent, but probably the easier way is just to hack a little hole. Honestly, you know, one of my sayings in life is cut a hole. Often a lot of problems can be solved by just cutting a hole in something. It's actually surprisingly strange how accurate that is. Sounds ridiculous, but seriously, it's kind of true. There are lots of situations I've been in where cutting a hole in something is actually a solution. Anyway, let me just bring my soldering iron back and get all that out of the side. And I can make sure these wires are there so I don't melt them or something, but there we go. There's my solder wire here. Right, let's do this. Flow some fresh solder on these things, which are probably lead free, and they're not lead free anymore. But that doesn't really matter, because I don't care, basically. Can I get that down into there? I definitely can get it down there, but will it get hot enough? Oh look, the plastic is melting. How sad. It smells terrible though. Oh yep, I think I got it to stick. Yep, there we go, that's on there. Alright, the fun part will be getting it off. Let's see. Bring my desoldering pump in. I might need to use solder wick for that last one, but for all of these it should be okay. Oops. Alright. Okay, I think that needs a... Okay, those four look fine. Now, the problem is going to be getting that down in there. Yeah. The de-soldering. I can't get the angle very well into that. It almost got it. I got some of it, that's for sure, but not ideal. Also got a lot of melted plastic there now. That smells wonderful. Actually, I can see some of those other joints still have a bit of solder on them, so that's probably not going to help either. Just a little bit of extra stuff there. Okay. Maybe that will help. Can I push that through? Those are free, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, those ones have come loose. It's just the got some more damn hot glue there. Fortunately, the soldering iron seems to have melted that slightly, so that's good. We can just sort of pry that away from the jack, actually. But yeah, that final connector down the bottom is still rather well soldered in, so I'll have to try to desolder that again. Let's give that a try. Nah, doesn't work. It's no good, and I'm sick of inhaling molten plastic fumes. Let's try some solder wick on this thing. I think that should work. There we go. Is that doing anything? Seems like it's doing something. I suppose it would be nice if I had a decent microscope or something to show this up close, but I don't. So you shall have to just bear with the process. I think that got it. I think that got it. Let's see. Of course, the yeah, the pin is free now. Of course, we do have the issue where the damn socket is still jammed. Like, yeah, I wonder if I just push it in. Nope. What if I? Oh. I guess we have to maneuver this back panel off anyway. That's very annoying. No, let's see. I mean, even if I... Nope, there we go. That got the damn thing out. Right, wonderful. That's the old one. There's definitely a lot of hot glue in the way. Let's take that out of there. Okay, now can I squeeze the new one in without wrecking it? I don't know. That's a very good question. That's interesting. Alright. I mean, yes, you see the... Yeah, see the front pin on that has been bent right over when I got it out, so to get the new one in I'd have to do the same thing, which wouldn't work, so at least I can get at this glue more easily. Now that I've got the jack out of the way, I guess I'll just need to try and loosen that up somehow. Marvellous stuff, isn't it? That is very annoying. I might just stop here while I get rid of this glue. It's probably going to be a roll pain to get out of here. Alrighty then, I finally managed to get the new jack in. I didn't actually need to take all that glue off. I got my screwdriver on here into here on this end, and I was able to lever it up just far enough that I could pop the jack in. And yeah, so that's in there now. All the pins are through the holes correctly. I think you should be able to see. I can solder that on. Great. Yeah, that made things a little easier. That was able to work that way. Surprisingly, but I'll take it. That's great. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing again with this. I'll just solder one contact first. If it will solder, there we go. Okay, and then I'll push down on it from the back while I reflow it again. Yep, that's good. Same thing with this other part. Yeah. Yep, that all looks alright. Cool. Wonderful. Alright. Put on the other two there. I guess it's not super important for the signal ones because they're bridged on the PCB anyway, but obviously the ground connector is definitely more important, so we have to make sure we get right in there and get that to be good. Looks alright. I won't bother cleaning that one, there's not much flux on it, and it all seems to be okay, so yeah. It looks fine. Now I can put this thing back together, I suppose. Oh wait, I guess I think I'll reflow the solder on that connector because I've made it a bit loose now. I don't know if I've cracked the joints, possibly. Unfortunately. Yes. I've just bridged that together, but there is a point to that, so I can solder them both at the same time. And then I'll just scrape that off like that. And reflow each separately. And that is a bit tighter. That should be alright. That's an easy fix anyway if it does fall off in the future. Certainly nowhere near as bad as dealing with that other stuff. Alright then. I think that's it. I just need to push all this melted plastic back into the inside there. And that little piece that's broken off, we obviously don't want that in there rattling around. But that should fit back in the hole. Wonderful. What do I need to do? Put those big screws back in. Okay. And the other one. Right, that's that done. What else did I need to do? Screw the potentiometer back on, I guess. So we've got its washer there, and the nut. I'll just be a bit cheesy and use my pliers again. Not the best option, but it would take me about 17 years to find a socket that will fit probably, so I'll just go with the pliers. It should be fine. Doesn't really matter if the nut gets a bit scratched, it's not like you see it anyway. And there's the knob goes back on. Wonderful. I didn't even need. Well, actually, I did need to take that off to be fair, because I leave it up that side to get the jack in. So I guess that was fine. I didn't really do anything I didn't need to do. Okay, so now I've got to put this back in here. I think that went round that way, didn't it? Yeah, it did. Okay, so yeah, that goes back there, I believe. You can take this back down here. Yeah, that's right. Okay, the fun part. Does that still fit in there? Yes, it does. Okay, that's good. Right, so that's the power connector there. I might actually screw the board back on at the back here first, just to make sure it doesn't flop around when I'm trying to work on it. I guess these screws just go straight into the MDF, so you don't want to over tighten those. Same with the screws for the subwoofer driver. Or the whatever it is. I don't know if it's really officially a subwoofer. It's probably just a, well, I don't know. Doesn't say anything on it. LF8. Don't know if you can read that. It says LF8 ohms. I mean, maybe it is designed for low frequencies on purpose. I don't really know much about speaker design. Yeah, okay, so we got that there. We got the power connector for the amplifier. And there's our mains connector here, which needs to go back on to the power supply, and once again I think I'll have to use the pliers, so I don't know if I'll be able to get my hand in there that far. I might be able to align it and then just push it down. Oh no, I can get my hand in there, I think. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was easy enough. Yeah, easy to get it in, not so easy to get it out. We've got this cable tie there, which holds that down. That all seems good. That's plugged in. This can go back on here. However it went, I don't really know. I think it went that way. Okay, where's the screws for the speaker? There they are. Wonderful. Should be able to put that back in. Again, don't want to over tighten these. Whoops, why did that suddenly go dark? Oh, I see. This is this ring light is slightly falling over. There we go. That should hold its place now. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, same thing with screwing into plastic. I think you want to back these screws out, like sit them in the thread, and then back them off until you feel it align. You won't hear a click because this is soft wood, but you'll be able to tell. And of course, you shouldn't get too much resistance when you're screwing it back in. If there's a lot of resistance, it's probably cross-threaded or trying to cut a new one. Anyway, there we go. Dust off that. Right. So it hopefully still works at least. Let's try that for a start. Let's plug it back in and see if it explodes. Right, now let's see how wobbly that thing is now. Ow, I've kind of got cramp in my leg from having everything in a weird angle. Alright, okay, let me plug that into the new jack. It's a little bit wobbly, but not as much as the other one. I don't think. Hopefully not anyway. Buzz test. When you get a buzz, well, that seems to work anyway. Well, it works. Stereo sounds alright. Got one channel. The other channel sounds normal. Turn the subwoofer up, that works. Yeah. Certainly that seems to be working. I wiggle that, nothing's happening. Tapping this, nothing's happening. Yeah. Interesting. Right, well that's, well, like I said, it works, but it was working before. So that doesn't prove much yet. But, yeah, unless there's something wrong with this plug. I don't know why that's... Yeah, it's a bit tighter than the previous one, that's for sure. I'll see what it's like in there. Yeah, about the same. I mean, I had this other plug here, I think. Yeah, that's... I don't know. It's not terrible, but... Yeah, right. Well, there we go. That's a headphone and front speaker jack replacement on a Logitech Z213 2.1 channel speaker system. Yeah, I'll have to run this again for a while, a few weeks I suppose, and verify that the fix is actually fixed this time, but I don't see why not. I mean, we've got brand new jacks in the thing, and both of them tested much better than the readings on the other thing when I was playing around with it. So yeah, hopefully they are better quality, or at least better condition. They may last for a while. Yeah, that's the only thing I can hope for. I would say the only other source I could look at for jacks like that would be eBay or whatever, and I don't know about the quality of those. And JCar at least is not too bad. I mean, their stuff's often not amazing quality, but it's still like they have some kind of level of standard that is probably a bit better than just generic stuff on AliExpress. But yeah, anyway, that was that. Oh, I've forgotten a screw. Whoops. There we go. I better put that in. Also haven't put the control pod back together actually. So yes, I might clean the flux off that first before I do that, but yeah, that's it for that, I think, at the moment. Hopefully it is actually fixed now. That would be nice. Shame that the contact cleaner didn't work. I don't know. I mean, it's not Deoxit. It's supposedly the best one, as far as I know. I don't have any of that. I think I'd have to special order it from America or something. So, yeah, I just got the cheap stuff from JCar. That's the average stuff. So who knows? Maybe if I had better contact cleaner, it might have fixed those jacks. These ones here, the ones that came with it. I don't know. Maybe they're just poor quality. Maybe they're just, I don't know, just not good enough. I mean, the previous owner of this did say that the thing didn't work for very long, maybe like 2 months or something, I think, from new, before it started having problems. So yeah, you wouldn't really expect that for something that was that good. You know, you'd think if there was corrosion issues or something, it would take years for something like that to develop. So these jacks might just be really bad quality. I don't know. Anyway, so that was interesting. It was certainly a bit more involved than I was expecting. Certainly getting this thing apart is a right pain. So if anyone's planning on doing that with theirs, just be aware it's quite annoying, but I have detailed the process here, so if anyone needs to follow what I've done, then you can do so. So that will hopefully help someone, maybe. Anyway, that's that for now. I guess there's nothing more to say. I shall test this thing. I'll put it back to use in front of my TV, and yeah, with the subwoofer it sounds better than the TV speakers. They're a bit, you know, they don't have much bass performance. This is a lot better, even if it is a pretty basic unit. But even though it's probably a cheap one, it actually doesn't sound that bad. I mean, turn it up too loud and it distorts, obviously, but you know, the speaker design, I've never sort of seen that before. It actually seems to be quite good, surprisingly. So yeah, it's okay. Certainly not as good as my main stereo system, you know, with proper nice Sony amplifier and decent speakers and everything, but yeah, it's actually surprisingly not bad for what it is. I don't know what the price is for this thing, but it did surprise me with its audio quality for what I suspect is probably, you know, maybe like $100 or something. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, that's that one. Hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully the ring light didn't get out of alignment too much. And I guess I'll see you next time.